Act 3 is just filled with scenes that change everything. In scene 1, Hamlet and Ophelia broke up, and we're going to see the implications of that action for the rest of the play. And in Act 3, Scene 2, we go see the play within a play. This is a very interesting stage setting to do, is to put characters on stage watching a play on stage while we watch them watch the play. And basically, if you had to sum it up, you would say Hamlet behaves very badly at the play. And then his plan, though, works, right? He wanted to see if Claudius would blench or show some sign of guilt that he actually killed Hamlet's father, and indeed, it works. The play is actually the first of 3 interrupted ceremonies in the play. Interrupted ceremonies, Shakespeare knew, were great drama, and so we're going to see 3 things happen that don't get to finish. And the first one is a play that only gets to go halfway through, and then suddenly the play is over. After Claudius blenches and leaves the theater, he says, "Give me some light." Typically he goes outside or at least somewhere else. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are sent to Hamlet to sort of tame him because Hamlet is behaving badly after the play is over. And Polonius comes with them as well to tell Hamlet that he needs to go see his mom. And Hamlet behaves badly to all of them. Act 3, Scene 2 might just be titled, Hamlet Behaves Badly. So, as we said on day 1, we think that Hamlet is special among Shakespeare's plays because Hamlet seems very actorly and playwrighty more than any of other Shakespeare's characters. In this scene, before the play begins, we get to hear Hamlet give a speech to the actors about what he thinks good and bad acting looks like. And it's very hard for us to listen to Hamlet and not think that must have been Shakespeare's opinion too. What is the essence of it? Well, basically, Hamlet hates overacting. Suit the word to the deed and the deed to the word. This fits our appearance and reality theme, where he wants appearance and reality to be one and the same and not to be divided, which is where evil occurs. Everything should match up and be honest. I like to say that in the play within a play, Hamlet has turned the tables. If Act 2 was spies and spying on Hamlet, Hamlet hires a spy, and it's Horatio, and he asks Horatio to watch the king. Before the play within a play begins, Hamlet makes a big speech to Horatio about how much he loves him and how good a friend Horatio is to him. And it's a little embarrassing, it's so authentic. I think Hamlet's giving it a speech to him because he's lost Ophelia, and the only person he has left in his life that's kind of on his side, because his mother is gone, she's part of Claudius, is Horatio. So he asks Horatio to watch the king very carefully. So Hamlet it's like a chess game in some ways, and making offensive and defensive moves. Claudius and Hamlet are both doing that, and this is the big moment. So it's kind of funny that in Act 2, Polonius kept interrupting the actors when they're making the speeches, and in Act 3, Hamlet does nothing but interrupt the play, and he wants to make sure that everybody's getting the play. Do you see what's happening in this play? Before the play even begins, he mocks Polonius. We could spend some time with those lines. He harasses Ophelia. He'd just broken up with her and basically slammed her to the ground. And then he starts flirting with her and teasing with her and acting like there's nothing wrong with his relationship with her. And that seems to be very cruel to Ophelia, who is very confused. As I always joke with my female students, I'm like, girls, do guys ever give you mixed messages? Because Hamlet's kind of the king of that when it comes to Ophelia. He gets under his mother's skin too, right? There's the famous moment where she says, "Good Hamlet, come sit by me." And he starts to walk toward her, and then he says, "No, good mother, here's metal more attractive." Which makes Polonius say, of course, "Oh ho, do you mark that?" Hamlet's attracted to Ophelia still, because Polonius never loses it's love that's driven Hamlet mad. And then he pricks at Claudius's conscience, ask him if he's liking the play. This is before the poisoning. Once you see the thief pour poison into the king's ear, that's when Claudius gets up, because it is the image of his murder. And as a matter of fact, that's something else Hamlet told the actors. He said that's the purpose of acting, is to hold up a mirror to nature, to show scorn her own image. So when we look at it, it makes us reflect upon ourselves, and we might see ourselves in that. And Claudius sees, I'm a thief, and I'm a murderer, and I'm a usurper all at the same time. So the play was technically titled The Murder of Gonzago, but when Claudius says, "Do you know the name of the play?" Hamlet calls it The Mousetrap, meaning I'm going to catch a rat doing it. The play is Hamlet. It's very much the murder of the king that we learned about in Act 1, But instead of a brother killing another brother, it's a nephew killing his uncle and pouring poison in his ear. So it's kind of doing two things at once. It's showing Claudius the very method of his murder, but it's also Hamlet kind of saying, I'm your nephew and I'm going to kill you in some ways. I often say this scene is Hamlet laying his cards out on the table and asking Claudius to look at them and see that I know what you did last summer. And Claudius recognizes that Hamlet is even more dangerous than he thought prior to do that. So nobody knows which lines Hamlet added to the play, but most people think that they are the lines that the player Queen delivers about how before her husband goes to sleep in the garden, she says, I would never, ever, ever, ever remarry after my first husband died. In second husband, let me be accursed. None wed the second, but who killed the first. These are lines that we would say are laying it on thick. And indeed, Hamlet jumps up to his mother and says, Madam, how like you this play? And Gertrude, she knows it's, a little bit of a comment on her, so she says, the lady doth protest too much, methinks. She is saying too much that she wouldn't remarry. Maybe that's overstated a little bit. Oh, but she'll keep her word, says Hamlet, implying that his mother did not keep her word. The king says, have you heard the argument? Do you know the plot? Is there no offense in this play? And Hamlet says, no offense in the world. It's just a knavish piece of work. Your Majesty and me, it's not like we've ever killed a king. It's not like this would actually apply to us, right? And Claudius and Gertrude are getting increasingly uncomfortable. Once the murderer comes in and pours poison into the ear, and Hamlet basically yells out, he's providing chorus commentary to this whole play, that he's going to get the love of the murder of the dead king's wife, Claudius stands up. It's a double mirror, right? So Claudius recognizes that Hamlet knows that he did the crime. And the masks are off and the knives are out. They're now enemies and they're going to have a real true chess game here. So Hamlet has humiliated Claudius. Remember, this is a public performance. He's accused the king of being a false king in front of the entire court. Hamlet ruins the play. It basically stops at that point and makes the court feel very, very awkward. And once it's all over, how does he respond? By singing and dancing. In some productions, he kisses one of the actors on stage and starts talking about hunting a deer and his arrow hitting the deer and getting the deer that he wanted to kill. In other words, I got Claudius. He's ecstatic. He's got wild and whirling words, to quote Act 1, and Horatio can hardly calm him down. He's dancing around and he grabs a recorder, a little instrument to play from some of the actors, and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are sent to fetch him. And Hamlet is very, very nasty to them. He's tired of them, and he reveals them to be instruments. He uses the recorder, and he asks them, would you play upon this pipe? And they're like, we don't know how to play upon this pipe. He's like, it's not hard to do. It's as easy as lying, is what he says very coldly. And they're like, we don't have the skill. We don't know how to do it. He's like, well, you would play me like a pipe. Do you think I'm as easy to play as a pipe? And he basically yells at them, and almost in every production, chokes them with the recorder. He can't get too far ahead before Polonius comes in and starts asking for Hamlet to come to see his mother. And Hamlet pretends he can see clouds, even though they're in the castle, that are in the shapes of different things, weasels and whales and camels. And Polonius is frustrated and agrees with them every time because Hamlet is the prince and powerful and difficult to get along with, and says, you need to come and see your mom right away. So Hamlet agrees to go see his mother, but he's kind of scary when he does so. Hamlet's blood is up. He says, now could I drink hot blood and do such bitter business as the day would quake to look on, soft to my mother. Remember the ghost had told him to taint not his mind and to do not contrive against thy mother aught. So this is sort of a dangerous moment where Hamlet is feeling bloody and ready to kill the king because he's confirmed the king's guilt, and he's going to see his mom. And he's going to have a little talk with her about her behavior, and it's going to be a little bit dangerous. And that's almost our next scene. Hamlet's going to have a little adventure on his way to his mother's bedroom.